Okay. All right, this is the City of Redondo Beach Planning Commission, Thursday, August 18th, 2022. It is 6:30. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Shall we have a roll call? Commissioner Barrett?
Here.
Commissioner Boswell?
Here.
Commissioner Godek?
Here.
Commissioner Hazeltine?
Here.
Commissioner Hensley?
Here.
Commissioner Lamb?
Here.
And Chairman Gaddis is here as well. So now we're going to have our salute to the flag. Commissioner Boswell, will you do us the honor of leading us in the salute to the flag?
Everybody stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the order of agenda?
Motion to approve the order of the
And a
agenda.
second.
And seconded.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those against, say nay. All right, it passes. Blue folder items are additional backup material to administrative reports and/or public comments received after the printing and distribution of the agenda packet for receive and file. Do I have a motion to receive and file blue folder items?
Motion to receive and file blue folder items.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. Motion carries. Next is the consent calendar. These are business items except those formally noticed for public hearing or those pulled for discussion. They're assigned to the consent calendar. The commission members may request that any consent calendar item be removed, discussed, and acted upon separately. Items removed from the consent calendar will be taken up under the excluded consent calendar section. Those items remaining on the consent calendar will be approved in one motion, and I will call on anyone wishing to address the commission on any consent calendar item on the agenda which has not been pulled by the commission for discussion. Each speaker will be permitted to speak only once, and comments will be limited to a total of 3 minutes. Do we have anyone who wants to pull any of the consent calendar items? Matt, what would you like to pull?
Item F2 and F3, please.
Okay, F2 we're pulling. So we have F1, which is the affidavit of posting for this meeting, and the receive and file for referrals to staff update in the consent items. Do we have any public comment on anything like any of those? No?
We have one Zoom participant. If they want to speak, please raise your hand, but no e-comments.
All right. So do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar items that have not been pulled?
Motion to approve the consent calendar items.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. All right, F2. Commissioner Hensley.
Yeah. Lena's not here. I just had one comment at the end in the referrals section. It says that I made the motion about the Beach Cities thing and I requested the report. I don't think that was me. So I just wanted to check if we could double check that and correct it for next time. I think it was Chair Gaddis's.
Yeah.
Weren't you asking about the Beach Cities Health District?
Yeah,
Like the Youth Wellness Center or whatever?
yes.
CUP.
Yeah, and I believe,
I just want to check and then.
I believe that will be addressed today.
Okay, we will check that.
Okay, so can I
Bring
just,
those minutes back.
okay, because can I just make a motion and continue it? Is that sufficient?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that was the only comment.
We have a motion to continue. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. Motion carries. It is continued. All right. Our next section is the public participation on non-agenda. Yes.
Sorry, F3.
F3.
Item F3 is also pulled.
Oh, I'm sorry. I only heard you hear F3, 2.
All right,
Okay,
I'll-
sorry about that.
Enunciate.
All right.
My apologies.
I have bad hearing. So F3.
Yeah, this is the referral to staff update. It looks like it's nicely cleaned up from last time. I did have just one question, if I may, Director Forbes, on the city attorney ex parte thing. I was just wondering, we asked last month, but Sean didn't know, so I was just wondering if we have any idea when we might hear again from the city attorney on quasi judicial and ex parte requirements.
I'm not certain. I know that there have been quite a few unexpected items that the city attorney has had to tend to recently. But I can find out when he might want to bring that back. I know that he was considering, he wanted to have that conversation at city council before coming back to planning commission.
Okay.
He was expecting to have done that in July. I think with the different council members' schedules and vacations, and as well the additional items that he's been addressing, he wasn't able to do that yet at this time. So,
Okay.
but I'll find out if he has an estimated date.
Okay, yeah, then if we just get that in the next meeting, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. That's it. So I'll make a motion to approve item F3.
All right, do I hear a second?
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. Motion carries. Our next section is public participation on non-agenda items. This section is intended to provide members of the public with the opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on this agenda for action. This section is limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to address the commission. Each speaker will be permitted to speak only once, and written requests, if any, will be considered under this section. And I see we have Tom Backley here to speak with us in person. So if you could approach the podium. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Planning Commission members. My name is Tom Backley. I'm the CEO of the Beach Cities Health District. We have not officially been in these chambers in front of you for several years, and we will be soon. I just wanted to come provide a quick scheduling update on our request and what we're looking at as far as the redevelopment of our campus. As you know, we're a public agency. We've been around since the 1950s. You've been getting lots of information about us, things that don't really pertain to land use issues. And so we just wanted to come and I wanted to introduce myself. I know some of you from when I appeared before GPAC. I was with the city of Hermosa Beach and spoke with you at GPAC about some of the general plan efforts, but just kind of wanted to come put a face with a name and talk a little bit about our project and our schedule. As you know, we have completed and certified an environmental impact report, so that's been done. We've submitted a pre-application and we've received comments back from staff regarding that, and we're looking at those comments and incorporating those into our CUP application, which we hope to bring before you this fall. We're continuing to get information from the community. I was out in the neighborhood on Monday, continuing to get input. And I think that's something that we want to be very clear about, that we've identified a potential partner, and our board has selected a partner. We'll be looking at some ground leases and some things with them in the next couple of months. And then we'll be working with them to prepare the CUP application. And so what people are reacting to right now is a master plan that's been in the works for 5 years. There's an environmental impact report with that, and we're going to be coming with an application that continues to listen to the public and continues to address concerns that we're hearing. So I just wanted to come introduce myself tonight. We have our Chief Financial Officer, Monica Sua, is with us tonight, and you'll be seeing us at more of these meetings. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any online participants who wish to comment?
We still have one participant online. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. No, and no e-comments.
And no e-comments. Do we have a motion? Oh,
No, it's fine. Is this for non-agenda? Excuse me? No.
thank you. Mary, is it Rummer? All right? I'm sorry. Please approach the podium.
Okay, online it says the meeting starts at 7.
I'm sorry, what, could you state your last name for the record?
Drummer.
Drummer. Oh, Drummer. Oh, okay.
Just like it's the rushed version.
Yeah, I thought that was a middle initial, but sorry.
It's okay. Oh, they started the clock. Okay, they say all politics is local, but it can have a national model. To quote Gary Kasparov, the point of lies and propaganda is not to convince you of the truth of those lies, but to attack your critical sensibility. It's attack on the truth itself to get you to the point where you no longer know what's true or necessarily care about truth. We thought venerated institutions would be respected, but there are factions, locally and nationally, working overtime using that script against them, like the building project of Beach City's Health District. I am here to reach out to the other residents of Redondo Beach to be aware of the tactics being used to influence you by the opposition, which are overwhelmingly false. The likelihood of an effective letter-writing campaign to LAFCO, which oversees special districts, to dissolve Beach City's Health District is nil for an agency that was just awarded the 2021 District of the Year by the Association of California Health Care Districts. The facility in actuality will house a couple hundred people, but broadcast it will house more than all the population of Beryl Heights combined. If you didn't know, the area in that estimate is over 6,000 people and includes Torrance, you might believe it, or worse, not care. The expenditures are quickly outweighing the revenue generated by leasing out space in this decaying building. The funds generated support the programs that benefit all Beach City's residents across the lifespan, with measurable, significant results in health, both physical and mental. In 2021, BCHD volunteers, 921 of them during a pandemic, worked over 25,000 hours, the equivalent of over $918,000 in service of Beach City's residents, and are back at it this year leading free weekly Zumba classes, overseeing the vegetable gardens at every Redondo Beach elementary school, part of the Live Well Kids program that decreased the childhood obesity levels here by 68%, running errands for the elderly and disabled like groceries and prescriptions, which help them stay in their homes. And Cove, the youth wellness center for young people ages 12 to 25. 18% of Beach City's 11th graders reported seriously considering attempting suicide in the last 12 months. And the opposition's position is to publicly state that it would be sad for the teenagers, but this district needs to be dissolved, full stop. It's not a popularity contest. They simply have no legal ground to bar this project, and the false campaign against it will fail. Please join me in supporting this project. BCHD is more than a building, it's all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to receive and file written comments on non-agenda items?
Motion to receive and file written comments
Do I
on.
have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those against say no. Motion carries unanimously. Ex parte communication. This section is intended to allow all officials the opportunity to reveal any disclosure or ex parte communication about the public hearing which will follow. Commissioner Barrett.
I did have ex parte contacts with Chair Gaddis as well as city staff.
All right. Commissioner Boswell.
I had ex parte communications with a local resident right near the project.
Commissioner Godek.
None.
Commissioner Hazeltine.
The public.
Commissioner Hensley.
None.
Commissioner Lamb.
I spoke with the senior planner, Gardia. I spoke with Councilmember Niels Narenheim, and I've spoken with members of the public.
All right. And I spoke with Commissioner Barrett and staff on it. So we're going to have a public hearing now. Moving on to J1, I should swear in those who are going to speak on this item. If you could stand up for me. And I should swear them in before we open the public hearing, correct? Yeah, okay. All right. Do each of you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right. Great. Do I have a motion to open? This is the public hearing for consideration of an exemption declaration and conditional use permit to allow the operation of a snack shop within an existing commercial property building with a 419 square foot outdoor seating area on a property located in a commercial C2 zone at 1328 Aviation Boulevard. Do I have a motion to open this public hearing?
Motion to open the hearing.
Do I have a second?
And second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. This public hearing is now open. Senior Planner Guardia, do you have a presentation for us?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chair Gaddis. So this evening, you're considering the conditional use permit for an outdoor dining area that exceeds 150 square feet in area. It's the CUP is required in the zoning code. While this change of use from a mini mart, retail commercial use, to a coffee shop or snack shop, as it's classified in the zoning code, is a use that's allowed by right. But because it includes this outdoor dining area that exceeds the 150 square feet in size, it requires that it come before the commission for consideration. This is a aerial photograph of the site. It consists of 3 parcels. It's 4 lots. It's about 8,700 square feet in size total, with a building that's about 2,200 square feet in size. The building is non-conforming in terms of the rear and side setbacks, but the building will remain in place. There's no alterations or expansions of the building from where it sits. Just mostly interior renovations, some exterior renovations as well. The building is not conforming because the rear setback is greater than is provided because it backs up to residential. The properties immediately to the south are zoned as R1. The pole sign is also a legal non-conforming structure. You'll get to see that later. The pole signs are not permitted for single tenant commercial buildings. The property is zoned as C2, and it, like I said, allows the snack shop or the coffee shop as a use by right. As a side note, the parking remains the same as the retail and snack shop. Parking ratios are interchangeable. This is the photograph of the existing site. You can see the front, the side that faces the parking lot, and then the side that faces the side street, Steinhardt. This is the site plan for the proposed coffee shop with the outdoor dining area. The shows there's a small kind of lawn or turf area at the front that would remain with some shrubbery or plants. And then the patio that's denoted, let's see if I could, hear it with the mouse, that's towards the front there. This shows the interior layout, including the seating for the proposed seating for this use. It's limited to 12 outdoor seats. The restriction is because if there were more than 12 seats, it triggers additional parkings at 1 to 6. So they're limited to the six seating in the outdoor area. These are the elevations that were submitted as part of the application package, and shows the front renovations, the side, and the rear. What you want to take notice of is that there is an outdoor awning or kind of cover for that front patio area, and that extends outward towards the front setback line. It's open on 3 sides, so it's not really floor area. It's just, like I said, it's more decorative than anything else. This is the perspective drawings that were submitted with the application. This shows the guardrail for the outdoor dining area where you can see where the bike rack is placed out towards the front, and then some of the shrubbery that's proposed for the site. And that concludes staff's presentation. We do have the applicant here. We did receive one letter citing parking concerns in particular, but it's not about this property. It's about neighboring use, the gym, but it doesn't really have much to bear on this project. But we did receive that, and that was in the blue folder items. We have the applicants here, and I'm sure that they can fill in a little bit more of the background on why they chose this location and what they're looking to do.
Good evening. My name is Brian Moran. We're the architects from Aero Collective, and we're excited about this project. We really been working for about 6 months with the team from Lavender Honey to kind of bring this to fruition. They currently own a similar concept in Pasadena, and we're bringing it to where they currently live here in Redondo. And so the effort here was to really take an existing building that had been, had seen better days, to kind of modernize it and bring it to a more community-focused and active use here on the street. And so we're here to answer any questions that you have, any specifics.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having us here.
Mm-hmm. Do we have any questions among the commissioners?
I have one.
Okay.
What are the planned hours of operation?
Planned hours of operation would probably mirror what we currently are doing in Pasadena at 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Frankly, selfishly, I like the relatively limited hours. It keeps me from having to be there too late at night or too early in the morning. And it's nice because it's when activity starts, but we're not exceeding the amount of time that people want us to stay open.
Okay.
You have a question?
Sure.
Okay.
So in the body of the snack shop, there are some seats there, or are they not seats? Is there any seating on the inside, or is this just a grab and go kind of place like a Starbucks?
So in the orange zone, there is kind of like a market area where you'll have some grab and go kind of items. But if you get a coffee or a pastry or something like that, there are a series of seating here kind of along the wall that's kind of facing the parking, and then some stools that would then look out to the patio, to aviation.
So is the total amount of seating, is that 12 total, including what's on the inside, or what's the total number of seats?
So there's 12 seating, 12 max seating on the exterior patio, and then we have, I think it's 12 on the inside as well.
Plus 12. Okay. And Mr. Gardia, so that's 24. What's the ratio for the 24?
So for the snack shop, the 12 on the outdoor dining area, that doesn't require any parking at all.
Okay.
So those are granted kind of for free.
Oh, okay.
The indoor, it's limited because the snack shops are geared to be kind of more, like you said, grab and go, or where people are not really intended to be there for long periods of time. And so there's a limitation on the number of seats, the indoor seats in the municipal code as well, and that's a dozen.
So what's the ratio then? So there's nothing there's no, so you base the ratio on 12? Did I hear that correctly?
No, the parking ratio is actually based on square footage. It's 1 to 250, but there is a cap on the number of indoor seats.
Right, that was, I think it was 12, right?
Yes.
The cap was 12.
The 12, yes, the cap is 12.
Okay, and you're suggesting that there will be that 12?
Correct.
And what you're suggesting is that it's really not going to be long-term sit-down like a restaurant, correct?
That's correct. It's a coffee shop. It's, people do tend to hang out at coffee shops nowadays. But it's different than a restaurant where you're
Yes.
having full meals prepared and that type of thing.
Okay, thank you. Can you explain again about the parking on the side? What the concern was from the neighbor? That's the gym?
Yes, in the blue folder item, there was a neighbor that's concerned that the gym, Triton Gym, that those folks are coming in the morning and parking throughout the neighborhood. And that this will exacerbate the parking impacts that are already occurring because of the Triton Gym. But this complies with the parking that's required for the use. So we don't anticipate that this would have any spillover parking.
Yeah, and actually in that, that communication from the neighbor, that was the one thing that they wanted to confirm, was that this was going to meet the required parking standards, which it does.
Right. There's significant parking space on this lot.
All right, Commissioner Boswell.
Is it the city that determines there's only 12 parking spaces
Yes.
because of the floor area ratio?
Well, that determination or the allowance for the seating is written into the definitions. And so there was a logic of how many seats would be allowed in a snack shop, which is typically like coffee bakery, yogurt, ice cream, that type of thing. And so 12 is the number that they came to as the allowance for that. And for some odd reason,
That's for the seating.
it's also the seating, outdoor seating, so that is kind of granted. So 12 seems to be the magic number, a dozen.
So I guess what I'm trying to get to the bottom of, are these numbers determined by the city and rules, or is it what they asked for?
It's by the city.
Okay. So we're looking at 6 tables with 12, I guess 2 per table outside, and then 12 more seats inside. So a maximum of 24 people that can sit down.
Correct.
Do you have service at the Espresso Bar? Would people be able to sit there or stand there and drink?
No, at that espresso bar, where it says espresso will actually be the espresso machine, so there will be no sitting there.
So it's more of an espresso counter.
Yeah, it's just a counter where you're
Not
going
a
to
bar.
see you're
Not a
going
bar.
to see the espresso being made, but you're not going to be able to sit there.
Okay, so the maximum number of customers at any one time you're expecting would be 24.
Well, the maximum number of people who would be actually sitting down. After they would, I mean, you could have someone
so-
come in, order an
People
espresso
might
and
come
leave.
in and, yeah.
Or
okay,
someone
so-
coming in and coming to the market and buying something and then
So
leave.
24 people having purchased something and are now on site consuming it, and others can be in the process of ordering and waiting for a seat.
Correct.
Okay, so, and you have what appears to be 9 parking spaces, one of which is just for handicapped, so 8 parking spaces plus 1. Okay, and you have 8 parking spaces for an anticipated crowd of 24 plus. So does that sound like enough parking to you?
It's compliant with code. So, we've also, this is a business that is focused towards the community. So there would be a hope that there'd be quite a few people who are actually walking to this location. Across from the street, there's quite a few multifamily housing, in the area. So their hope would be that, it's serving a local community-based group of people. And then I would also, we have also included, bike parking for people commuting in the area as well. So I think, there's probably multiple ways that people are going to be approaching and coming to the site. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we kind of try to make this a much more, walkable and friendly along aviation, so that, this kind of creates and kind of, engages that way. So it's not so car, hopefully, dependent.
Okay, so are you preparing any food, anything besides coffee, drinks
So there will be some sandwiches as well.
that you're preparing on site?
Yes.
Are you going to be cooking anything on site?
No, so it's not a hot kitchen, it's just a cold kitchen.
Okay, all right. And you had mentioned that there's a similar spot in Pasadena that you started with
That's correct.
How does that compare space and capacity-wise with this?
It's a smaller footprint, similar overall seating. It's also a different feel. The area isn't quite as dense as this area. So we do have more people driving up, but we have a lot of people who walk into the area, a lot of people who bike. It's very common for us. Most customers are getting their items to go. A lot of them actually call their orders in and we prepare things and have them ready for them when they arrive.
Great. So in your time running the Pasadena shop, what did you learn that you then applied to this new location? What did you figure out the hard way, so to speak, that you're now going to make sure doesn't happen, or any such story?
Those are great questions. A lot. One of the big things is space. We never have enough space for anything. Everything feels like a miniaturized version of what it is when you're actually working in a kitchen or in a coffee space, espresso bar. We've learned that we need to have a little bit more of that, more storage for the products that we need, and planning ahead for what the outdoor experience is going to be. And that's really what we've been focusing on, having an outdoor opportunity that really pulls people in, that says, hey, come on in, you can get something, maybe take a seat if there's one available, but either way, you're gonna have a great experience.
My last question concerns the construction and the remodeling. It looks like the exterior, you've got the existing sort of like barn-like superstructure on the front end. So what's all involved in turning this into a box or shoebox type of shape? And how long is that going to be expected, and what's the impact in the neighborhood?
So, we're keeping the basic roof line. So some of this is in kind of disrepair from the years. So that tile roof, the shape overall, primarily stays the same. The only thing that will be changing is really the barn shape that there is at the front. And so, that was very distinctive of the existing. And so, the effort was to kind of modernize it and kind of bring into something that's more distinctive for the current tenant. So construction, we're probably looking at something like, 4 to 6 months. And that's really dependent upon timelines of the general contractor and availability of materials and things like that. But it's not we're not tearing down and rebuilding anything. We're adding windows to kind of open it up so it has, more, you can see into it from aviation. And so, I would say that's probably the bulk of it. 4 to 6 months is probably an estimate for timeline for construction.
Are you anticipating having to block off any streets or have any heavy equipment in there or kicking up a lot of dust or anything like that? That's kind of what I was going for.
The only thing, we have our own parking lot, so we would have all of our dumpsters on there. I would imagine that all the trade would be able to park on site. There's no kind of need for, we have enough staging area for everything there. There's no large, pieces or anything that coming in. So I wouldn't anticipate anything that, would go outside the bounds of the property.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for being so prepared.
Thank you, Commissioner Boswell. Do we have any other questions, comments from any there? Oh, Commissioner Barron?
Thank you, Chair Gaddis. I had a question about the mural that's currently, or at least was represented to be currently on the building, and in the presentation put forward by Mr. Gardia. And my question is, does that mural fall within the California Art Preservation Act, if you know?
I do not know. Okay. And I don't know what, no, I do not know.
Okay, and you, sir?
I do not know.
All right, and Tony, have you looked into that as to whether this particular mural may fall within the California Art Preservation Act, which I'm not an expert on, but sounds like it prohibits the alteration or destruction of any artwork that falls within the gambit of this Preservation Act, to include murals and other works of art. I just throw that out there. I don't know if that's something that you've had an opportunity to look into, or if it may have any application at all.
I can't say that I'm familiar with that, with the act. We do have the survey that was done in 1986 that identifies properties that could be historic resources or potential historic resources. And there's different categories. It could be the local landmarks, the landmarks or properties that would be eligible for California Register and then the National Register. And this property was not listed on that survey. So I have reason to suspect that this would not fall under the Preservation Act.
Okay. And do we have anyone on staff who has even more intimate familiarity and expertise with the California Art Preservation Act who would be able to look at that if needed?
We could always look into it. But I do have my colleague, Associate Planner Kinsella would be the other person that might be familiar with that. But we haven't had those discussions regarding this property at all.
Okay.
If I may.
Please.
So my understanding is when you're going to be destroying a mural, you need to reach out to the artist and give them an opportunity to say whether or not they want it saved. So there is a process that you need to go through. I think it's the Visual Artist Protection Act.
Okay.
That I think is what it's, but yeah, so there is a process where you're supposed to reach out to the artist.
Was
that for public or private?
So that's a good question. I don't know. My experience is with the school district, so that would be public.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. We just like to know, right? Usually a differentiation between whether it's a public property or a private property.
That's a good point.
It's in this instance, Mr. Moran and Mr. Porter, have you had the opportunity to attempt to reach out to the artist who created the mural to make any determination at all about that?
We do not know who the mural artist is.
Okay.
Do you?
No.
Okay.
Okay, I have nothing further.
All right. Any other questions from, there we go, Commissioner Inslee.
Hi, good evening. So I live about a little over a quarter mile from this proposed property. Just to state that that's not close enough to have any sort of conflict. That's not out there. But close enough to know the neighborhood and know that it's extremely densely populated. These are R1A mostly properties. And so I had a question. One of the conditions in the draft resolution is on the hours of construction. So you said it's supposed to take 4 months to 6 months or so. Is that about right? And the hours as proposed are 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I have a personal experience of a new construction residential house going up across the street from my house. And they are there at 6:59 on the dot every day with very loud beeping machines and every saw you can imagine. And it's not exactly what I would call enjoyable. So my question is, and the other thing that I notice with them working across the street is they leave every day around 3:30. So it's very disruptive to, breakfast time. Anyway, my question is there any flexibility in your hours of operation during construction that you would be interested in taking into the fact that this has a densely populated neighborhood?
Generally, the general contractor and the city determine kind of the hours. I think, we would like to stay within those, hours, right? I mean, I know that they're starting at 7 and it's construction. I live by a construction zone myself right now, and it is kind of disruptive, but, the contractors generally are traveling in and out. And we would prefer to probably, stay within the hours because we just don't know from a cost standpoint of changing the hours on a construction timeline from a general contractor, which then would, obviously increase our cost.
Okay. One other question, in the current resolution, there's no hours of operation, which are sometimes included, sometimes not, as a condition of approval. I heard earlier you said 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. or 6, what did I hear?
7 a.m. to 4 p.m. is what our current hours of operation are at our Pasadena location. Those were our hours of operation when we originally opened. We've experimented with different hours. When the pandemic hit, we went back to this more abbreviated schedule, and frankly, we like it. So that's where we've fallen on that.
Okay, and if I can ask, is there a reason that hours weren't a condition, like hours of operation, or is it a restaurant thing, or I'm used to seeing hours as a condition, so.
Do bear in mind that what the conditional use permit is addressing is the outdoor dining area specifically, and not the full use. That doesn't mean that a condition, it is a conditional use permit for that. I would say that you'd be, more likely be providing that or issuing any condition on the outdoor dining area itself.
Okay, just because it's a quote-unquote large outdoor dining space, right? Trying to limit those impacts, is that the purpose of this conditional use?
Right, if it was within the smaller footprint that the code allows as a permitted, it wouldn't be before you, but they are requesting a larger square footage for the outdoor dining that requires the conditional use permit. That is the thing that is triggering this conditional use permit.
Commissioner Hensley, if you felt that there was a negative impact of the people being out there on the patio during specific hours, then you could always impose those as a condition.
Okay. Okay.
And so if you would want to specify that the outdoor dining area can only be used from the hours of 7 to 4, we could definitely add that as an additional condition of approval.
Okay, all right, yeah, I'm just trying to think about it, and this is our chance to talk and such before we go into deliberation, so that's why I'm trying to get all my information. So that's all my questions. Thank you very much.
All right.
I have another question.
All right, Commissioner Lamb?
Yes, the outdoor seating area that you're proposing is, has a fence 42 inches high. And there's been some discussion or concern that there might be some noise or pollution from the traffic on aviation. Have you considered some additional screening of sorts or alterations?
So per code, the railing height is actually at a max of 42 inches. So that's from a code standpoint. So I think from our standpoint, by adding some bushes along the street, having that kind of, separation from the sidewalk. And then if you see at the corner, we're kind of have some planting there that we're trying to at least have some level of buffer between it. But from code standpoint, we can't have anything kind of over 42 inches from along that portion.
Right, or, so how high do these, those little trees go? Do they stay at the 42?
They would be at the 42 inches.
42, right.
And so there's also there's a safety issue of which you can't have at that corner, too high of anything, because if you're turning right, you want to be able to see from a safety standpoint.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Any other questions, comments? Commissioner Barrett?
Yes, thank you. I did have, Chair Gaddis, I did have a question for our senior planner, Gardia. In the agenda packet on page 191 is the application for the conditional use permit, and it has the street address of the property with a zip code of 90007, which may be a typo. I don't know if, okay, so that's not an issue that needs to be straightened out at this point. And the same question with respect to the owner's affidavit, which is on page 194, same thing.
The owner's affidavit, we had a separate submittal where it was actually signed, wet signed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you know if it was signed with the correct zip code? And if not, what, if anything, needs to be done about that?
The zip code is incorrect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you,
Minor issue.
okay, you're able
Yeah.
to correct that by interlineation or otherwise, and,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you, Chair Gaddis.
Thank you, Commissioner Barrett. Any other questions from Commissioner Hensley?
One more question. I'm looking at the picture as I'm hearing everyone talk, and I have one more question. This picture that's up right now, that long kind of L-shaped white, looks like a kind of bench. It's labeled in the picture as number 9. Probably can't see the number up there. Can you see what I'm referencing or no?
Is it in the corner?
Yeah, in the corner there, inside the snack shop.
Yes.
Okay. Is that a bench
Yes.
for seating? Okay. So can someone help me with count out the 12 seating spots? Because if that whole bench is seating, that looks like, and there's little circles, bar stool seating?
Yes.
So is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15? Or are you putting one person at that table or
4, 6,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13?
12, 13, 14. I can see where you get 15.
Isn't it 12 inside and 12 outside?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Like, at first I thought that bench was a table, and like, okay, you have 2 there, 2 there, 3 there, and maybe that's a thing in the corner, but I'm trying to understand if that's a bench for seating or.
Yes, it would be a bench for seating.
Oh, I think I think there's bench seating at each one of those tables too.
Yeah, so am I misreading it?
No, you're
Oh, I
not.
see, I see.
Are there more than 12 seats inside in this drawing?
Depending on where people sit, yes, there would be up to 15.
Okay.
Yeah, just.
And I know
depends
that we're
on-
not approving this. This is just a rendering.
Concept,
This is a
yeah.
whatever, like, and minor changes are made. I'm just trying to understand, like, if we need to say anything or clarify, we should do it now, but.
Yeah,
Right, and you certainly could, if it's not called out as a specific condition, you could add that as a specific condition.
Okay, I think 12 is, but I'm just, if we approve it and don't say anything or like approve this design concept, this is,
The resolution is, if it's limiting it to 12 seats indoors and the 12 seats outdoors, that
Okay.
will be what they're limited to.
okay. And who checks that? Like, because we've run into this before where we have a condition and then like final building sign off, they don't know the conditions. Like, they just do their normal, occupancy certificate. So they'll know that they're limited to 12 and we'll check that?
it would be through plan check when it comes back through
I see.
the plan check process.
Okay.
We could have, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. That bench in the corner, it would have to be modified.
Okay. But it is your intention to have 12 seats inside?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's it.
Point of clarification? So you said moments ago that the CUP is really only for the outdoor dining, but at the same time, we're providing conditions for the internal section.
Well, the internal section, we would catch on the plan check when it comes back around. So we would issue that as a correction.
Oh, you issue that as a correction?
Yes, so I don't have the resolution in front of me. Is the limitation might just be the 12, is it just calling out the 12 seats of outdoor seating?
Yes.
So what Senior Planner Gardia is mentioning is when this comes through plan check, that's when we make sure that, because planning reviews that, building reviews it, engineering reviews it. And when planning is reviewing that, that's where they'll have a note that will limit it to 12 seats if they're showing anything different than that on the interior. And then the actual CUP would then have the limitation of only 12 seats on the exterior. So similarly, that would be caught in plan check if they came in with a drawing that showed something more than what they have for the outdoor. And then if there was, ever a situation where they had more than 12 seats outside after they're open and code enforcement was notified, then code enforcement would have that CUP to go back to enforce that.
Right. In terms of our role here, though, we're really just focusing on that outdoor. Is that correct?
That's correct. And those are both code requirements. They're usually not included as conditions of approval. The conditions of approval are typically above and beyond the code requirements. But if you wanted to specify that the outdoor seating is limited to 12, it's kind of redundant, but we can always do that.
Okay.
All right, any other, Commissioner Boswell?
Start the clock. So they're limited to 12 outdoor seats because of the space and what they're building here. They couldn't ask for more.
They're limited because it would otherwise require additional parking,
Okay,
which they cannot provide on site.
okay.
And so they would have to either
What's
request a
the
variance.
ramification of people just, all the seats are taken and they don't want to go home and drink their coffee, so they stand around on the deck there and watch the traffic zoom by and pretend they're at the Long Beach Grand Prix. Is there an enforcement required to shoo them away, or do you just put up with it?
There's no restriction for people to, if people were going to stand outside.
Or inside.
With that, I think that the only time it would be an issue for enforcement would be for fire occupancy purposes, if there was a concern that there were, 500 people in this building, for example. I know it's an extreme, but that's, that would be the enforcement for it.
Yep, okay. So on the inside, we're talking 12 seats, but clearly there's room for a lot more. And you're saying that plan check will catch that on the back end. Why isn't it addressed now, since it's obvious that there's more? I mean, either say, okay, you can have 15 or 18, or say, let's lock it in at 12. Why are we not dealing with that now? Is that just inappropriate for our mission here tonight?
Yeah, I think that goes to what Commissioner Lamb was just mentioning. The conditional use permit isn't for this entire use and for the entire property. The conditional use permit is permitting the larger space for outdoor seating. So it's there is the approval for the use in the indoor is a ministerial approval that would come through the plan check process.
Not our mission tonight.
Correct.
Okay. Good enough then. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Boswell, I also wanted to mention that, as you are well aware, there's implementation actions for the Acap, and the parking requirements may change in the future. And should that happen, there is a possibility that they could increase the number of indoor seatings at that point. So it's something that the parking requirements are somewhat of a hindrance to development, and it's something that staff is looking at. And so we're exploring other options to take a look at that. I don't know if you want to expand on that, Brenda.
That's what
It
the
could
city
change
council.
as the city changes
Right.
ratios and stuff like that,
Correct.
which I understand.
Right, but for right now, they are meeting their parking requirements. We will, when this comes through to plan check, we'll be evaluating it on the regulations that are in place now.
And should there be violations of this outdoor seating area, we're relying on code enforcement to notice that and come by? Or does it require somebody, say, calling up code enforcement and saying, hey, I think they have 13 people on there?
Yeah, I think for the most part, for code enforcement, when the only things that they're doing that are more proactive or more very nuisance related and aren't going to be, counting chairs as they go past outdoor seating areas, it would be a complaint based for something of this level. If there were, 4 extra seats out there and somebody complained, then code enforcement would go out there and count the seats and see what's approved and, yeah.
And this is the same code enforcement group that enforces our leaf blower ban?
It's under our police department, as a matter of fact.
Same people?
They've been issuing several citations. Doesn't mean that people are still going to comply, but with something like this, they would be at risk in this situation versus a leaf blower use. In this situation, if they were not in compliance and they didn't bring it into compliance, that conditional use permit could be rescinded. So then they wouldn't have the outdoor
deck is merely
dining.
decorative. So write that down. Okay, I think that's clear.
Any other questions from the commission? Do we have any questions from the public or comments from the public?
And Chair, just a point of order. I'm not sure if the person from the public was here at the time that you did the oath at the beginning, so we'll just want to verify that.
Okay.
And if so, make sure he has.
I'm sure they didn't, only these two. Thank you. We're gonna get a public comment right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
So someone named Sam is here to comment. So I'm going to swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, you may approach the podium.
There's only 7 parking spots over there with the handicapped. So imagine they have 2 people working and 2 spaces are taken. There's only 5 parking spots. And we have 24 seats. And let's say they're 3/4 full. That means 2 per car. That means it's gonna be about maybe 9, 10 cars. Where are they gonna park? There's already a problem with the gym parking on the side, taking all the sides, and it's an issue, especially during rush hour. So I don't know how this is feasible with 7 parking spots and a handicap. And one of the parking spots, if you can check it, is much smaller, the one in the corner, because they had to adjust it because of the handicap. And I don't think it fits a regular full car. It's only more for like a mini car. So the issue is, it's just, even with 12 people inside, it's gonna be tough. How are you gonna allow it to be with 24 people or 24 seats? And imagine if it's, and I hope it, if they're busy and they have it, and everybody, let's say 2 per car, that's gonna be way over. I don't know how the parking gonna work. Side parking is always full, and you can come check it. It's always packed, with the businesses over there. And the parking on the other side of the, is always full. So I don't know where the parking gonna come from. That's the only issue I have, and it's gonna bring a lot of problems for the neighbors in the area. That's all. It's just a parking problem. It's nothing to do with the business itself. It's just 24 people, and if 2 per car, is just the numbers don't add up. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any online comments?
We still have 1 person on Zoom. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. But no e-comments.
All right. Any other comments from, or questions from the commissioners, or do I have a motion to close the public hearing, perhaps?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Do I have a second?
Second?
All those, oh, wait, we have an objection.
Yeah, I had some questions for staff.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry, I didn't want to make the applicants end up there and wait while I.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay.
No, that's fine. That's why I asked the question,
Okay.
if we had any more
Yeah,
questions.
so please hold your motion. Okay, I just had a couple of questions, and again, I thought of these like as I'm looking at this or here in the presentation, so I wrote them down. During the presentation, I heard something about signage and like a single commercial use, and this sign that currently exists is no good. Can you maybe explain that again to me? And I see a new sign proposed in the application, looks pretty similar, so I'm just curious about that requirement.
Yes, so the existing pole sign is a non-conforming sign, and we wouldn't allow the structural modifications of it. It would have to remain in place, because otherwise you'd have to just remove the entire sign and replace it with something else, with a monument sign or just simply wall signs. The state code does allow you to replace copy on non-conforming signs. And so that's what the limitations would be for this. So they can't alter what it looks like, the actual, for lack of a better word, the cabinet for the sign, it has to remain in place.
Okay,
So it's got that peak on it, that would have to stay.
Okay, so they're keeping what is the old sign that would otherwise not be allowed, but it's allowed because they're keeping it and just reusing it for their structure.
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's included in the conditions of approval, that the sign can't be altered other than the copy.
Okay. One other question on the conditions was, condition 3 talked about a covenant and agreement to hold the property and some parcel numbers. That's not a condition I see very often. So can you maybe explain what that condition is? And
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, the site is comprised of 4 lots. It's 3 parcels. And because they're separate parcels or separate lots, they would have the ability to be sold off individually. And so what we want is for the applicant to record this covenant that holds all these 3 parcels together as one, so that the parking lot will always be there for this building.
okay, so without that condition, they could sell off the parking lots?
They could.
Somebody in the future,
Yes.
theoretically, okay.
Right, theoretically, and then develop those other parcels individually.
Okay, so they have to do that with the county before building
Before we
permit
issue
is
the permits.
issued?
Yeah, we want that corrected at this point.
Okay, great. That's a good explanation and excellent condition. One other question on the hours. The hours of construction are 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I know that's more of the building than the outside.
Yes, it is.
Where do those hours come from?
Those hours are typical construction hours that we have set by the building division.
Okay. In theory, nothing stops us from changing those conditions, right? Because
No.
we're allowed to look at the density of the area, what's around it, like.
Yeah, there's nothing that prevents you from changing those hours. We would want to convey that to the applicant and make sure they're okay with it.
Yeah.
But you can impose the different hours,
Okay.
construction hours.
And one other.
It's not set by code.
Okay, it's just a city, do other cities do the same thing?
It is in our regulations what
Yeah.
Oh, really? What the
construction
hours
hours
are.
are. They would need to agree to any modification of construction hours. I don't know that you could legally impose construction hours separate from what the code has. You can for operations because it's something specific to that use. But as far as the construction, they would be allowed to have the same hours as anybody else doing construction.
Okay. Okay, I think those are all my questions. Thank you very much.
All right, Commissioner Lamb.
Question for staff. I want to revisit the parking again, just to clarify. There's 9 parking spaces. One of those will be for immobility, right?
Accessible parking space.
Yes. That's correct?
Right.
What led you to not include the parking area on the west side of the parking lot? So I walked the area, and there appeared to be sufficient parking on that west side for horizontal parking. What led you to decide that wasn't sufficient?
There's a required backup area of 25 feet. And so that's the minimum that they need to back out from there. And so they've got the width of the parking space is typically 8 feet, 8.5 to 9 feet. And so they would need to have that sufficient width in addition to the backup space, and there's not sufficient space.
Okay.
So if it's there and existing, it's not in compliance with the regulations? Yeah.
Okay. And how much parking is there on the sidewalk on Aviation? Do we know? It's not, it wouldn't be sufficient for the ratio,
The on-street parking?
the on-street parking.
I think there was like 2 spaces directly in front on Aviation, and I can't recall if there's any parking spaces on Steinhardt.
I think there's 2. my recollection.
Yeah, I can't recall, because sometimes on the narrower streets, there's limitations on parking on one side or the other. And
Oh,
I
that's
don't-
correct.
I don't remember.
Street sweeping days included. And anywhere west of Aviation for parking? West on the side on Aviation? Did we,
I didn't
we looked?
take that into
Yeah,
consideration.
You know, because we can't count those towards their requirement. We were looking more to see how they comply with the code on their site. We didn't evaluate that.
right. I'm referencing Catalina.
Right.
So thank you so much.
Sure.
All right. Any other, Commissioner Roswell?
Is there somewhere on here that tells us what the bike rack capacity that's planned for this is? How many bikes?
The drawings depict the bike racks. That would have been a question for the applicant, because I know they come out with different sizes of bike racks. I think there are two bicycles per rack, so it looks like there's a total of 8.
The public hearing is still open, so
Still
the
open,
applicant
so-
still can answer, yeah.
Maybe 6 to 8.
Yes, we're currently showing 6 bike parking stalls, but we could accommodate more as needed.
Okay. It just seems like in this location and with this limited parking that you're definitely going to rely on people in the neighborhood walking over or biking over, or pushing their bike up the hill and coasting back down. So adding more bike racks is something that you have room for if you find the need.
Yeah, we're happy to add more bike parking.
And you have it looks like 2 racks up on the front dining patio. Is that or is that 1 rack with 2 bikes?
1
Okay.
rack with 2 bikes, and then 2 racks with 4 bikes at the rear.
In the back there, and, okay. Well, sounds good to me, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Other questions from the commissioners? Comments from the commissioners? Any other public comment that's coming in?
No one's raised their hand on Zoom and no e-comments.
All right. Should we close the public hearing? All right, do we have a motion to close?
Motion to close public hearing?
And a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? All right, motion carries unanimously. Yeah,
Uh-oh.
yes.
Point of, just a question here. We now, at this point in time, we have discussions among ourselves regarding this project, is that correct?
Mhm.
Thank you.
So as a coffee addict, I think we should have one of these on every corner. And I think it's wonderful that we have a small business local owner that is interested in opening up a wonderful little shop. I think coffee shops, especially outside tables right now, are great places for people to walk and sit and talk. So sounds like a wonderful plan.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I would be interested in adding a condition for the hours of use, probably focusing on the outdoor seating. Just so they couldn't, start working at 5:30 and have people sitting out there and that kind of stuff. I think reasonable hours would be a good condition.
Hours of operation
Hours
of
of operation.
the occupancy of the outdoor seating. It is on Aviation Boulevard, which is
I thought noise is an
major
issue.
thoroughfare, right?
For example, you could open a coffee shop at 5:30, have people sitting outside chatting and whatever, and the people that live behind there are not, may not be enjoyable.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Not that much traffic on Aviation.
5:30 in the morning, yeah.
Again, I hope it's a wonderful project. It looks nice. I think it's a good improvement over what's currently there. What's there is an eyesore. But I think that they want to work from 7 to 4. That's the hours they want. So I think that we should make it conditional.
Would you limit how late it's open, or is it just the early part that's?
Clarification, can we condition it not earlier than and not have a,
Yes.
Yes.
yeah, be open to that. Like, I think that'd be fine. And the other thing is I'd also be interested in the condition on the 12 outdoor seating and even 12 indoor seating, because I'm worried that if in the future the parking is somehow reduced or other things are reduced, they may try to put a lot more seats in there, and they should be able to, but I think they should have to come back and revise their CUP if they want to do that.
I believe that's probably, already right in the.
Well, if we don't condition it and the parking today is 9 and they reduce it later to 2 and they can now fit more seats, they can do that on their own. They don't have to come
Wouldn't they
back.
be out of conformance on?
There's no condition currently in the,
No, so the way that would work, if I'm kind of following, to see if I can explain this, maybe you can follow my logic, is if the parking ratios are reduced, allowing a greater number of seating, let's say, that would be allowed by right. So it wouldn't have to come back. It wouldn't be non-conforming. It's just a use that's allowed by right. If the reverse happens and you increase the parking ratio, so more parking spaces are required, then it becomes non-conforming. So that's where the problem lies. But I think the indications or the inclinations that I think that we're headed towards is reducing the parking ratios and allowing for more uses to be able to operate more intense uses.
But are you talking
Parking
about a
intense uses.
zoning change or the rules change, or are you talking about physically a parking space goes away for some reason?
no, I'm just saying that on the condition of approval, no more than 12 outdoor seats. And I would prefer no more than 12 indoor seats, just to clarify from what we saw in the picture, so that there's no misunderstanding of what we approved.
I think that would be acceptable for the 12 outdoor seats, because this is what we're considering is a larger space than what normally could just be approved ministerially. So because of that larger space, you still want to make sure that they're limiting it to the 12 seats. So you could certainly put that as a condition.
But as far as indoor, we can't really do that, right?
Can we say 12 indoor seats?
You could add that in. That's just stating a code requirement.
Okay.
I'm just trying,
It's just redundant.
the thing is if there were a code change later that allowed more seating, for example, for that square footage, you're now limiting this, even though it didn't require a conditional use permit to be, to have a limitation. So, and it could be that you note a condition of not more than 12 outdoor seats, and that the indoor seating must comply with the zoning code.
That's better said.
Well, but I am worried about, like, if 12 is what's allowed now and they cut the parking in half, for example, so then they can suddenly put 18 seats inside, I would like them to be conditionally approved for 12 indoor seats and have to come back if they want
If I'm
more.
correct, the seating is based on the square footage
Oh,
of
really?
the site. It's not the parking.
No, it's in the definitions. So it's not the parking is based on square footage of the building, not the seats.
Oh, okay.
Right,
The
but you're,
seats are only
But the
limited
seats are
because it's classified as a snack shop and it's limited to 12 seats.
so it's not that the seating indoors is not limited because of the number of parking spaces. It's limited because of the type of use it is.
Okay.
So I think that, a condition of not more than 12 outdoor seats, the indoor seating must comply with the zoning code.
Yeah, you can even strike the end. I didn't realize that snack shop was the limiting factor. I thought it was a square footage and the parking was by a square footage, and that's why I was worried about those two things. But I'd be fine with just limited to 12 outdoor seats. So is that two additional conditions, not earlier than 7 a.m. and limited to 12 outdoor seats? Okay. And if for some reason they wanted to come back or something changed, they could always come back and revise their CUP. That's not a So that would be new condition 16 and 17?
If you were to consider a motion, you could say a motion to adopt the resolution with these two additional conditions.
Okay.
And
So
we don't have to number them here.
Okay, so.
I don't have it here to pull up for you guys.
So I'll make a motion to approve the resolution by title only. I want to read the whole thing.
We actually have a couple more comments.
sorry.
We have three as I'm counting. Commissioner Hazeltine is ahead of
Yes.
Commissioner Boswell, and then we have Commissioner Lamb.
As
You should just let
previously
them go.
noted, I'm a coffee addict. And sometimes 7 o'clock is kind of late for me. I mean, I'm on the road, I've got to run in my car, I've got to get someplace. So I actually, you know, if they wanted to get up early and open for me at 6, I'd be perfectly fine with that. So I'm not really okay with the 7
Are
o'clock.
you going to sit outside and be
Start.
loud for the
No,
neighbors?
but I
the
think, can
indoor-
they sell? Oh, they
Yeah.
can't.
This is
You're
just
saying just
limiting outside.
Just the
outdoor.
outdoor, okay.
Okay,
Ah,
All right. Is that-
oh,
is it-
the 7 AM is, all this time I was thinking it was when the whole thing would open. It's just
just
when
the
they're
outdoor.
first
I think the
allowed
addition.
to put people outside.
This is
My
just-
understanding is that they said that their hours of operation period that they want to have is 7 AM to 4 PM. What we're talking about here is limiting the hours of operation for the outdoor dining area to whatever, and not to be used before
7 a.m.
7 AM.
Turn.
It's your turn.
I jumped the gun. So they're asking for 7 AM for the whole thing. We're saying, even if you change when you want to get there and start serving people inside, you still can't let them sit outside until 7 AM. So we don't want them distracting the traffic or something, I guess. So do they have to come to us to ask for a change of hours for indoors, or can they just put a different sign on the door that says we never close, or
Correct. They would not
we
need
never
to
close because
come,
we're drinking this stuff?
yeah, they would not need to come to the planning commission if you limit that, the hours of operation limitation to just the outdoor
But
seating
if they
area.
wanted to, if they're finding that people are getting there at 6 and wanting to sit outside and see the sun come up, then they'd have to come back here.
If you put this condition in there, yeah,
And what if we don't put the condition in there?
then they would not need to come back.
Okay. And still, people wouldn't be able to just sit out there and drink their own coffee before they open, would they?
I think that's
People
precedent.
might. I mean, I don't know that we're going to be, as long as they're,
It's
you
up to
know.
them to shoo them away if we're
Right,
trespassing,
exactly. I mean,
guess.
people might do that. It's not something that I imagine the police department's going to be looking for, but.
They have enough to do. Okay, so this is merely to benefit neighbors on the residential side, on the far side of the building, that might overhear conversations from that distance over the traffic.
80 feet away.
I don't know that we need to be too worried about that. Anyway.
Commissioner Hensley. who-
Well, I know he is. He's
My
got
concern.
good ears and he's only a quarter mile away. Hey, I live on a busy street. I know what it's like. Anyway,
All right, Commissioner Lamb.
So the first comment I want to make is that this is going to be an asset to our community. And second comment is really a summary of what I think we've heard. And a summary helps me in terms of our role here in this conditional use permit. It's just for the outdoor dining. But there are some other things that are required of us to assess. And so this project is permitted. It's a permitted use in the C2 zone. The fence conforms, if I'm not correct, the fence conforms with the code. the landscaping is going to conform to the code. The front setback conforms to the code. And we've all determined that there's been no adverse effect. We've talked about privacy, noise, visual intrusion. There doesn't appear to be any visual intrusion. There's some question about parking, but it's all to code.
That's correct.
Am I correct?
Yes.
There's access to the street, and we've developed sufficient conditions.
Maybe.
That's correct.
Maybe.
Those are all the findings, the conditional use permit findings, yes.
Okay. Just this summary per our role in this particular section of this project, the front dining area. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other, you have questions?
Maybe, maybe not.
Go ahead, please.
We've closed the public hearing, and maybe we want to keep it that way. Myself, like others on the commission, are concerned about ensuring this is a successful business operation, and we're now discussing some additional conditions that may or may not be reasonable. Do we and need we and should we get any further input from the applicant as to whether?
You'd have to reopen the public hearing, right?
So I just throw that out there. I'm not advocating for reopening the hearing, but just as a touchstone of ensuring a successful business. I don't know if we wanted to hear further on that, to the extent we are leaning in favor of imposing some additional.
We would have to vote on it, so everybody has but you can do it if you want.
Not necessarily. I mean,
Yeah, if I may. So I usually try to ask the applicant, if I'm thinking of additional conditions, I generally ask him. And so he gave the hours 7 to 4. You know, they said it's limited to 12, outdoor seating. That's their plan. So that's why I'm putting
You have a
conditions.
second on your reopening the public hearing.
Yeah, there's no problem confirming with them, but I generally try to ask. I just try not to.
Do I have a motion
Not
to
ask them and
reopen the public hearing?
Motion to reopen the public hearing. Let's just
Do I
get
hear
it
a
done.
second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those against say no. All right, the public hearing is reopened. Commissioner Boswell?
Yeah, I'll say it as well. It's always great to see local entrepreneurs taking an underused facility and turning it into something great for the neighborhood and the city. I think I can speak for everybody when we say we have the greatest hopes that you will be successful beyond your wildest dreams. But is there anything else that you think you need that would help you get there?
Well, I think first I can address the hours of operation, since that seems to be a point of concern, if you'd like. Like I said, I would love to just operate from 7 to 4. The earliest we've ever opened in Pasadena for a period of time, we opened at 6:30 a.m. and closed at 6 p.m. That changed again during the pandemic, went back to 7 to 4. We're very happy that way. However, we would be responding to the market. And quite frankly, if the market is such that there are so many people in the area at 6:30 in the morning or even 6 in the morning, then my thought would be that there would be so much traffic that I would not be concerned about the way people tend to talk first thing in the morning when they're barely awake, not quite wired on that coffee yet, but just getting it into their system. Those tend to be very hush-hush conversations. And I know, as someone who has opened the shop multiple times, the first person who comes in and speaks loudly, it is very jarring to the system. It's even when I've had 4 shots of espresso and I am still dialing in, it is something that really rocks you awake, and that typically doesn't happen for the first hour. So that would be my way of addressing that concern.
So, as we've heard from a lot of people over many years, Redondo Beach has become a town where people who have jobs have those jobs somewhere else, because we don't have any room left for houses, much less businesses. Thank God you're going to do some. But a lot of people commute, and they commute quite a distance, and if they're going to get coffee before they hit the road, that 6 a.m. opportunity should be available to you. And as I understand it, you could pretty much open the indoor part of it whenever you want. I don't know that we really need to limit you on the outdoor seating at 7 o'clock either. But I suppose, you know, sunrise or within a half an hour of sunrise would be appropriate. I don't see where this is on that corner. I don't see where hours are an issue at all. But for the success of the business, your ability to react to market demand might mean you're getting up real early to open that shop at, I don't know, 5. So if that's what you need.
It is a distinct possibility. I'm hoping that that's not the case. Similarly to what you described as the Redondo resident who commutes quite a ways away, we experienced something similar in the part of Pasadena that we're in. And to this point, we have not really needed to change those hours. Like I said, 6:30 was the earliest. That's a half-hour difference. We're not particularly interested in being open before that. We are not running a Starbucks operation. We're much more service-oriented. We're much more community-minded. We want this to be a place for the community. But we will have people who drive by and get coffee, and they will consider themselves part of the community in that way. But yes, I would agree with you that being able to remain fluid in terms of what our hours should be is something that is very important to our business in order to ensure that we are successful.
Okay, just know that we've heard this statistic many times over the years. 93% of working residents of Redondo commute out of town every morning, and a lot of them come back at night. So, so understand that.
It's good to know.
The community is a commuting community because of the way development has happened in this city. Anyway, thanks for your input on that.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Lamb.
Your business model is not exclusively for those coffee drinkers. I have read your menu and looked at the Pasadena store. And I understand from what I observed is you're putting some effort into engaging children.
Yes.
Could you speak to that, please?
Absolutely. That was a huge thing for my wife and me. We're co-owners when we started this business. Part of that came out of what coffee was in Los Angeles at the time, which was a hyper-masculine, somewhat elitist experience. We wanted something that had a more delicate touch and that allowed families to feel welcome. We have a kids menu for that reason. Even before we had children, we wanted to ensure that people could come in, not feel like they weren't allowed to bring their kids in. We like to strike that balance in terms of the tier of experience too. We're a nice enough experience where mom and dad can enjoy a cup of coffee, but not so nice that you feel like you need to leave your kids at home before you come. It really is a family shop, not just in terms of us as owners, but in terms of the experience too. We like to have families in. We like to have menu items that kids can enjoy, including hot chocolate, steamers. We have kids sandwiches, toasts that are very kid-friendly. I taste test on my children, so I like to use them as guinea pigs. So that's the way we operate, yes.
And the birthday toast, is that a popular item?
The birthday toast, actually, it was not a very popular item. It was more of a fun thing that we had out. It's not even an official menu item anymore, but it's something if people order it off menu, we fulfill it. It's just, it was a fun thing that was really for kids and weirdly took off with more of the younger millennial crowd. So that's really who it took off with. I think most parents don't want too much sugar in their kids that early.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments for the applicant?
Yeah, I'm still in favor of a condition of outdoor seating all the time, so. Is it 6:30? Because I just don't want people out there too early, like, you know, and I want the store can open at 5, like, that's fine. People can drive up and get their coffee and go on their merry way, but, you know, especially on a Saturday morning at 6:15, someone's out there, and, because I know my kids, some of them up early, like, you know, it's just so dense right there, and there's so many houses around there, and I'm worried about those neighbors, so.
You're just talking about the outdoor seating?
Just the outdoor, so not the indoor. Indoor can open whenever they want, and outdoor, 6:30, 6. I mean, is there any reasonable time that, people shouldn't be outside making noise? Is there any time that would be open to you to condition outdoor seating?
I mean, there are times that we would not open the shop. We're not going to open before probably 5:30 under any circumstances, because I'd have to be there doing it, and I'm not particularly interested in that. However, limitations on outdoor seating would present some issues from an enforcement standpoint for our team as well. Typically, what we do in Pasadena, and I would assume that we'll be doing the same here, is store our outdoor seating in the shop overnight and put it out in the morning. Once the seating's out, trying to shoot people away is much easier said than done. Similarly, there are things that we simply can enforce. If there's no seating out there and people decide to walk up and talk on a cell phone when we're not even in operation, we have no control over that either. And frankly, that would be a bigger concern, because that is when there is no traffic, and that is when there is nothing going on in the area, and that is when people are probably trying to rest.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any more questions, comments for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comments since at this point?
No hands raised on Zoom and no e-comments.
Okay, and none in the room, I assume. So we have the opportunity to close public hearing again.
So I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
A second?
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All who don't want to, say no. Unanimous? Okay.
So I'll give up my outdoor seating hours condition.
Okay. All right, but we do have, huh?
Who says I'm inflexible?
There was a condition though, right? That
Yeah, so like keep the 12 outdoor seating.
12 outdoor seating is a condition. Anybody have an issue with that? Want to discuss it? All right. Do I have a motion?
So, yeah, I'll make the motion to adopt the resolution by title only. I don't need to read the whole thing, do I? Thank you. And adding one additional condition to limit the number of outdoor seats to 12 seats.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Lamb?
Aye.
Commissioner Hensley?
Yes.
Commissioner Hazeltine?
Yes?
Commissioner Godek?
Yes.
Commissioner Boswell?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrett?
Aye.
And I am an aye too, so it passes unanimously. Welcome to Redondo Beach. Congratulations. We look forward to you opening your shop.
Yeah.
Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Antonio.
All right. Take us down to items continued from previous agendas. None. Items for discussion prior to action.
No discussion items.
Items from staff.
Yes, I have a few items. Wanted to let the commissioners know that the city council is going to be holding 2 strategic planning session meetings. The first is on Tuesday, August 30th, and the follow-up second is on Thursday, September 1st. Both will start at 6 p.m. and they'll be here in council chambers. And the commissioners are welcome to attend and provide any feedback that you want to city council. I know we have the objective design standards subcommittee discussion. We plan to have that on the agenda for the September meeting so that you can decide if you want to go with the subcommittee. And then 100 North Catalina, we're expecting that to come back in September at the September meeting. So we'll have that be the main item and not have additional public hearings on that. We will have that subcommittee discussion, but hopefully that'll be a pretty quick and easy conversation. There was the referral regarding the Beach Cities Health District, the potential new uses per the blue folder item at the last city planning commission meeting. I just wanted to provide a brief update on that. That was one of the items in the referral to staff. But do bear in mind that this is not a public hearing or a discussion item, so it's not, about having a conversation. It's just me providing the status update. So the Beach Cities Health District, what they have submitted at this point was an application for the All Cove Youth Wellness Center. And we evaluated that looking at the prior CUPs on the site. And the existing CUP for the building that they're proposing it in is Resolution 8746. In reviewing that, I confirmed, I was working with our planning manager, Sean Scully, and we confirmed that the uses proposed are aligned with the uses approved in that CUP for medical clinic, medical office, educational facilities. And but we did have to require Beach Cities Health District to provide us additional information because that CUP actually limited the area in the building. So it was the north wing and floors 2, 3, and 4. So it was only approving those areas. So we needed them to demonstrate that the specific area where they were proposing the All Cove Youth Wellness Center was within that area. And there aren't any changes to the approved FAR or the structure itself. It's just a tenant improvement. So it does comply with the conditions of the CUP, and they're going to be moving forward with the tenant improvements. I believe that there was a mention of that they may be proposing something with the PACE program. That has not been submitted, and we would have to review that in the same way, evaluating it based on any existing CUPs. And if there was not something that it complied with, then that would require a CUP. So I just want to kind of give you that process, what the evaluation is. I know there's a lot of comment and concern in the public on that, but it is something that we have to evaluate it based on, what has been approved, and does what they are proposing comply with that approval. And then there were a couple referrals. One is the referral for the outdoor living space. One is actually a city council referral for planning commission to consider SB 9. I know that we keep wanting to have those items come back. I just want to give you all heads up. We are short-staffed. We appreciate having Melissa from the city clerk's office here tonight to help us with our meeting. We're down 2 staff members in the planning division. And so that in and of itself creates a lot of extra work for our staff. We are now getting to a point of being fully staffed in the building division. So we're focusing a lot on really improving the customer service and the processing in the building division. And the biggest thing that is really sucking a lot of our time are some of the bigger projects that you saw earlier this year that are still being considered. So the housing element, even though it has been adopted, it has been submitted, we're waiting for HCD. It's not just a one and done, certainly. It's also, we have ongoing commitments that we have to do. We have public comments that come in and we have to respond to each of those. We just had a major letter come in from two groups joining together that we have to address all of those comments. So I think until we get that housing element certified and kind of move through the adoption process for the cannabis ordinance, once we get past those, we'll definitely see these items coming on your planning commission agenda. It's just right now, those are drawing a lot of our staff time. So I thank you for your patience on that. I know that you are chomping at the bit to really get to work on some of these bigger code and policy issues and making recommendations to council. So I appreciate your patience with us.
I have a question about the housing element. I was on the HCD site recently, and there's a date of September 9th as the sort of the closing date. Is that a date that you think will be honored by HCD?
Yeah, HCD, they have a 60-day window to provide their comments and determination back to us. And we expect that they're going to take that full 60 days. That 60 days ends on September 9th. So they will return a comment letter back to us. We're hoping that comment letter says, yes, this complies with the state housing element law. If it doesn't, then it would have additional changes. But we've really worked very closely with HCD to make all of the changes that we possibly could to comply with their comments throughout this process. So fingers crossed that we've put all the hard work into it, and we'll get that certified housing element on September 9th.
You've had positive confirmation, verbal confirmation, is that correct?
We've had confirmation that they no longer had any changes or additional information they needed from us on the site's inventory. And then as well, we made all the changes that they had proposed for the affirmatively furthering fair housing, mouthful, I know, AFFH. And we went through that. We actually had a June 23rd draft that we had made available to the public, got that to HCD. They got us comments back. So we made those changes and had a June 29th version that was up and available to the public. And that was what the city council adopted on July 5th.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And all the work that your staff has done.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that item? Okay, commission items and referrals to staff. Do we have any other referrals for them? All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. It is unanimous. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.